What's up guys, Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. In today's video, we're going to run through some recent news for XRP, HBAR, Casper, Peak, and wherever else this video takes us. I have a bunch of tabs open that I've gone through, and I will trim these clips together, so I hope you enjoy. Okay, first up, shared by Ripple, we have the next annual event, Ripple Swell 2024, taking place in Miami, October 15th to the 16th. So I'm excited to see this agenda when it is fully out, to see what they're going to be covering in terms of financial services and tokenization, their new stablecoin, CBDCs, payments, other features for the XRPL, regulation, etc. Here's a clip from Ripple Swell 2023 that took place in Dubai, so looking forward to see what speakers and what topics are taking place in 2024. So here we have VARA, the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. And we know the huge list of speakers that have attended Swell over the years, different central banks, we have financial institutions, organizations, even the DIFC back in 2023. And after the Medico acquisition, Medico is now 100% under the Ripple custody umbrella, so interested to learn more about that, because with custody, other things become possible like tokenization. And I'm definitely hoping that the stablecoin is live well before Swell, along with Brad Garlinghouse's prediction of the final verdict for the court case before the end of September. Alright, next up, super quick for Peak Network. So it looks like we finally have a target date for the Peak mainnet to go live and the listing of the token. So you can find this in their latest blog post, and we can see right here week 37 or week 38. So at least now we have a target date for the launch of the Peak token and exchange listings at sometime in September. So hopefully we can see Peak Network launch around that time frame. And we definitely know that every project that is setting up to launch, they're trying to time this as best as possible with the market. They want to have a successful launch. So although a lot of projects are likely building infrastructure, improving everything, making sure it's battle tested, they absolutely want to have a successful launch, especially when Bitcoin is trending up and the altcoin market is going up. And from what I've personally observed in market cycles with bull runs, bear markets, trendless markets going sideways, there are so many projects, even if their tech stack is ready, they're trying to delay their launch because they want to launch in a positively trending market. And just like we've seen every cycle, when Bitcoin is moving, Bitcoin dominance finds its top and then crashes and alt season occurs, there's going to be so many projects launching left and right. Looking at the metrics of global crypto users, we haven't seen that big growth that we see each cycle, and what brings that big growth is positive price action. So when prices actually begin to move, developer activity increases, funding increases, and this has happened each cycle. And I'm referring to the historical alt season, which we haven't seen yet. We did get some attention with the Bitcoin spot ETF approval back in January, and Bitcoin went to a high, but we haven't seen the historical major moves. That bring in a bunch of attention, alts are moving left and right, it's on the news every single day. This was interesting, shared by Leon. So huge divergence between Ethereum and Bitcoin. So here on Glassnode, we have Bitcoin, the exchange balance as a percentage, and Ethereum's exchange balance as a percentage. And we can see the gap between these two. And we've seen these gaps before, but we can see the gap is widening like Leon says, and Ethereum is becoming scarcer than Bitcoin in terms of exchange balances. I saw this clip shared by 707 Crypto, so I thought this was interesting. This is the Digital Euro Program Manager basically discussing how they choose a service provider. So proposals made by Ripple and other organizations are going to be decided on in 2025. Next up, we had an interview hosted by All In Crypto with the CEO of Archax, Graham Rodford. So discussing Hedera, discussing Aberdeen, and BlackRock's funds being tokenized, and also considering Archax's announcements with integrating into the XRP ledger so that they can tokenize funds there. And we've heard the CEO of Archax's huge predictions of trillions of dollars in the future.
Aberdeen are on the Hedera Blockchain Council, and Aberdeen led our Series A round, so they're a large investor of us. So, their preference was to work with Hedera. We already liked Hedera. We've been looking at them for a long time. When we started Archax, we were originally going to be a fully decentralized exchange, but sorry, we're going to be an on-chain exchange, not fully decentralized. But the reason why we didn't was that the transactions weren't quite fast enough for what we needed, and there's also a cost per transaction. So you were introducing latency and cost, which are two things really our users didn't want. Now we've come a long way since then, but that was kind of our first impression of Hedera. And then since then, we've had the addition of the Blockchain Council, the Hedera Council, which is made up of large institutions, the kind of low fees. So a lot about Hedera makes sense to us. So it's a sensible choice for a lot of institutions that want to be on it as well.
I also wanted to share this clip shared by Smoke Dog going over the implementation process to get started with the company Ripple. I don't know where this clip was from, but in a previous video, we shared one of the latest series of built on the XRPL with Zonix, And they said with their tokenization platform that they can tokenize an asset within 48 hours, which is huge. And remember, when you're tokenizing assets on the XRP ledger or having tokenized securities, the XRP ledger in itself is the protocol.
Quite comfortable for you. How long is the implementation process to get started with Ripple?
Yeah, so typically we look at about a 2 to 3 month basis from start to finish. A lot of that is part of the onboarding process. So we go through a credit review process. We then have an onboarding process. That's relatively straightforward. In terms of the technical integration side, it can take between, I'd say, probably 1 to 2 months. That includes things like testing, integrating into the system, and just general process. I think the fastest one I've ever done was probably a 3-week implementation, which was very fast. And probably the slower ones hit that sort of 3-month mark. But it's as fast as you can put resources into making it happen. And we're here to support that.
Next up, so we know Neuron, this is a Hedera partner. We can see Neuron and this 4D Sky application were featured on the front page of Unmanned Airspace. So right here for Neuron, we can see drones, we can see the industry is in IoT, and use cases include mobility, DPIN, and DSN. And DSN stands for Decentralized Service Network Infrastructure. So we can see the Decentralized Physical Infrastructure 2023 market cap was around $20 billion. And notice, for DPIN specifically by 2028, forecasted to be $3.5 trillion. And for tracked services delivery segments by 2026, estimated to be $2.7 billion. So to go through this really quick, the traditional service landscape is dominated by centralized platforms that act as middlemen or intermediaries between service providers and consumers. Think of Uber, Bolt, DoorDash, etc. So with Neuron, they are pioneering decentralized drone tracking networks, offering a decentralized service network infrastructure for managing services, Web3 technologies like distributed ledgers and smart contracts to create a peer-to-peer ecosystem where service providers connect directly with the consumers. And for Hedera, we have Generation Infinity putting out this great post today going over Neuron World, discussing the decentralized service networks. And we also have right here, this is QuickPick, Web3 powered application for delivery as a service. So Generation Infinity put together an awesome blog. You can go directly to their website. It is genfinity.io. So Neuron is a DPIN use case. We can see in late June, Neuron launched its inaugural sensor in Australia, extending flight tracking capabilities across 4 continents. Integrating drones into the airspace safely, tracking location, real-time weather information. We can see right here discussing traditional networks that rely heavily on centralized servers. Neuron's infrastructure leverages blockchain technology right on Hedera. So this is definitely a cool use case to keep tabs on, and this is DPIN. So DPIN is really wide. This can be payments, delivery, tracking of any type. Next up, shared by Emi Yoshikawa, she is a Ripple VP, sharing that Japan's SBI has started minting the World Expo 2025 NFTs on the XRPL. So we can see these World Expo 2025 NFTs on the XRP ledger directly. And we also have CoinFest Asia taking place next month, and we can see the HBAR Foundation. So looking at coinfest.asia, we can see this seems pretty big with over 2,000 companies, 250 plus speakers, and over 6,000 participants. Next up, for Casper Network, this is on Casper Labs' website discussing ERPs and databases and emphasizing the advantages that blockchain has. You can basically think about blockchain as an ultra-secure and unmodifiable database or ERP system. Discussing the Ethereum virtual machine and then discussing WebAssembly for enterprise adoption or WASM. And I believe Ethereum is here to stay, but the EVM or Ethereum's virtual machine specifically has hindered companies from integrating blockchain tech with their existing software, having to learn Solidity instead of what companies are used to using. So it's important for any enterprise-grade network to be language agnostic. And that's what WASM or WebAssembly allows, allowing developers to write code in multiple languages. And even Ethereum itself is going to start using WASM. And plenty of major companies already leverage WebAssembly to some degree today, like Google, Microsoft, and Uber. And taking a look at Casper's GitHub, we can see different updates for the Condor release, and just making sure that they're staying active, we can see updated 4 hours ago, updated 16 hours ago for Condor. We have Tokenizer putting out a great post going over Casper, going over the AI space and the fintech space, and going over different use cases like Nucleus Finance built on top of Casper Network with Actis, one of the big 3 global standards for tokenized asset messaging. You can see that Actis is looking to officially stamp their standards with an ISO TC68 this year. And a lot of good information here, also highlighting the ISO 222 RMG. We've talked about this before. This is the Registration Management Group, RMG, under ISO 222. And in this list, we can see Actis right there. As we scroll down, we can see MasterCard, Mojaloop, Nacha, and RippleNet. And further down under the member list, besides just seeing Actis right there, we can see Ariadne. And you can find information on that same group, Ariadne, on nucleusfinance.com. As we scroll down, we can see this is a joint venture between Ariadne and Casper Labs. So I always find that interesting. I just want to see mainnet deployments on Casper Network, and they're shooting for Prove AI to be live by Q3, so that means by the end of September. Next up, we're going to play a quick clip of a recent interview of the Casper Labs CEO.
If you have like 4 trillion hashes, it's such an overhead to go through them. So it's really about very smart and efficient batching. You do it at the model level. You don't say, okay, I have 30 models running. I'm going to put them all in one pot. So model becomes, one subset. And then each of those models could have a version number or, a certain parameterization. So now you've created more branches of the tree. And each of those was trained by a certain set of data sets. And as you see, then you go down into a tree, which is very, very similar to what Walmart does, right? You have the aggregate financials right up at the top. But that is a combination from, the tiny store in Dubuque all the way up to, the massive store on the outskirts of Chicago.
So if you're interested to watch that full interview, there's a lot of information that was shared by Casper Labs over on X. Next up, super quick for the Casper price chart. So of course I'm looking for a bottom because I believe this is in fact accumulation and not distribution. So if this is accumulation and this is the spring, the question becomes how deep is the spring? So I've gone over the Bitcoin price chart on the weekly and monthly, and what I want to see that weekly RSI curl up, crossing the 50 line. I want to end this consolidation. We have broken down below the range, and I want to recover. So price action for most alts at this point in the cycle is really going to be determined by Bitcoin's price action and its relationship with Bitcoin dominance. So looking at the Casper weekly price chart on HTX, we can see the weekly RSI did a type of double bottom around 30. So it never broke below 30 going into oversold, which is a good sign. So that's what I'm rooting for. So in theory, it's possible the bottom could already have been in, but that's a bold prediction considering where Bitcoin's at today, and we don't want to see this RSI cross below 30, because if it did fall below 30, it's likely that it could go lower. Same thing looking at the other Casper price chart on OKX, we see something very similar, maybe not going right to 30, but we have a double bottom structure, we have lower lows, and then we have right here almost a setup for bullish divergence on the weekly. So we're going to see how assets perform if we're still going to go lower for a bit longer, or if we're actually going to start forming our bottoming structures. And friendly reminder, the next alt season hasn't occurred and these structures are there. So I'm very interested to see when Bitcoin dominance finds its top, if not already, where are the altcoin price charts? So right now, Bitcoin dominance is around 54.8%. So if Bitcoin dominance goes up or stays the same and Bitcoin goes lower, alts go lower. But if Bitcoin dominance goes down and Bitcoin climbs higher, alts can absolutely recover. In the same scenario, if Bitcoin dominance climbs and Bitcoin is drawing major moves in all-time highs, alts can recover. So that's a big reason based on where I believe we are in the cycle. I need confirmation from Bitcoin drawing that first major move. And until then, absolutely anything can happen. It can be volatile as we've looked at past cycles around this time looking at DAG and HBAR. And to finish up today's video, we're going to quickly run through a few weekly price charts looking at the weekly RSI. So we know that Bitcoin created an all-time high price. It was in this range for over 100 days, and we've broken below the range. Taking a look at the weekly RSI, we can see we're just below the 50 line, getting a bit of a curl. For the bullish case, we absolutely want to see this weekly RSI cross the 50 line and begin recovering. Looking at the Ethereum weekly price chart, we can see it's in a similar position with the weekly RSI curling up just below the 50 line. We do not want to reject this level. We want to break through for the bullish case. Looking at the total crypto market cap, they're all in a similar position today, just below the 50 line. So this is total or total 1. This is total 2, excluding Bitcoin. We can see same position with the weekly RSI. And then also total 3. So we're all in a very similar position. We can see we broke and rejected that, but we are just below the 50 line. And just looking at my big picture view for the Bitcoin price chart on the monthly time frame, the importance of maintaining monthly candle bodies above the 8-month EMA, this orange EMA, at 56,600. So we have 22 days until this monthly candle closes, and we're going to see if this body maintains above this or if we are below this level. Looking at past cycles, we've had wicks below this level, but you can see how tight the actual monthly candle bodies hold this level. We can see maybe the corner is just below it, but really holding this level as support here, even in 2020 around October. So we can see some wicks. We had a candle body slightly below, but maintaining this level for support during a bull run post-halving as we get closer to elections. So hopefully that makes sense, just referring back to the 3 previous cycles on the Bitcoin Monthly. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button and sharing your thoughts down below. As always, you can find all links, including resources for charting, trading bots, platforms, wallets, portfolio trackers, and exclusive discounts in my link tree at the top of the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.